Who wants to start up? Well,
Maya, you start off. But she always be trying to start off.
She do always trying to be started off.
I can't talk. Gotta get over.
Yeah.
too high to get over.
Yeah.
Too low to get under.
Yeah.
We're stuck in the middle.
Yeah.
And the pain is thunder.
Yeah.
So let's kick it! Kick it!
Went from MIA to LA on the run like I don't got an estate.
We are talking about mentors and influencers. So we're talking about, whether it's a person, a place, or thing. Not to be confused with a noun. But it could be a noun. They're all nouns.
They are now.
This particular object has influenced you. That's what we're going with.
Exactly.
Tesseract.
So I would definitely say my mentors, influencers, people who push me to do certain things can start obviously, with you guys, my parents, you guys influence me to, do better. And obviously you're, the first influencers I've had, you're my parents. You've known me since I was born. So
Even before.
I know mom is specifically influences me on how to be, a woman, a well-rounded woman, a wife, a mother, because she's on point. She's good.
Thank you. Thanks, sister girl.
Yeah, no, definitely been an influence on how to move and how to be responsible and kind and educated. So, number one, influence.
That's a good one.
Since I'm always, I like to take lead, I'm going to relinquish the floor to someone else.
Twist.
You've heard it first.
You heard it here.
A lot of the influence comes from stuff that you guys do and say, which I'll end up saying a lot of the same things you guys say, especially as I'm sort of as I get older and whatnot.
You become your parents.
You become your parents.
Exactly.
I guess besides you guys, I don't know. I didn't really have any mentors, I guess, that I could really think of. I mean, I had a lot of good teachers that were good influences on me for sure. I had a lot of great teachers that taught me the value of responsibility and whatnot. I'd say my grandparents for sure. Your parents, your mom, in particular Nana. Those were great influences as far as just sort of handle myself, how to take care of myself.
Your family does have influence on you no matter what. And like you said, you become your parents. It's so true. There are things outwardly, and we were talking about this last night, outwardly people would think that I'm more like my dad than I am my mom, because a lot of how I am as my dad is very external. The things I say and
Bobby Jr.
Bobby Jr. But there's a lot of things that I take from my mom too that are not as external, but they're just behaviors. Some of the things that I do. So it's just
like I was telling you, I think your creative side comes from your mom.
She loves her Pinterest.
Her mom likes to bake and stuff like that. Does a lot of handcraft work, projects.
Yeah,
things of that
she doesn't do it as much. She used to sew a lot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, with the crafts and stuff like that. So I think you get that from.
Right. I don't do any of that stuff.
No, but it comes out another way.
Yeah, exactly.
You being the Canva queen.
Yeah, right.
Stuff like that.
Different ways.
Together.
Yeah, exactly.
It comes out in other ways.
Yeah, and then we were saying with your parents, how do you, who
Mine?
are you most out of your, and because they are influencers.
I know from my father though. I know as far as work ethic, it came from him for sure.
Absolutely.
He's still working.
He's still,
Your father is kind of like the stereotypical Jamaican worker.
Right.
100%.
Yeah. And mom was definitely, major influence on my life. Certain things that she does, I'm sure I do.
Sometimes it's so embedded.
It's so embedded you don't even realize.
You don't even realize.
Yeah,
you don't even realize you got it from them.
And the older you get, the more you get into it.
You
get more.
A lot of my influences, and I can't speak specifically to a specific one, came from being in the military for 14 years and seeing certain officers, petty officers, chiefs, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Pay grades above me and watching how they move that I either work for or I saw in other places that you watch and you see how they move.
And
that's definitely fun.
right. So what I could see from Marcus's and influence of dad is him in getting things done. Like Dad, you give him he's very task oriented. You give him a task, he's like, boom, he's on it.
Yeah.
Marcus is like that too. He has to have things a certain way. So I see that in that kind of
Right.
and it's right and like you said, it's what you see.
They might even imitate it
They
when they're
might
younger, and that develops as
exactly.
part of their personality.
Right.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I remember when you think your kids don't listen to you, but your kids actually do listen to you. I was
Listen every once in a while.
but I was made aware of that when I heard Marcus talking to one of our friends, and he said the same exact things that we would say to him, and I'm like, whoa, he really was listening. So your kids do listen to you, absolutely, they really, really do. And I say for me also, education. We were talking about the military.
Yeah.
For me, education and going to school and becoming an educator, I didn't really realize that I had that influence until
You had a few people.
yeah, well, when my papu died, my grandfather died, he was an educator, and he was 90-something when he passed away, and I never made that connection. He's an educator, I'm an educator. I don't know why I never really thought of that, but he was teaching me all the time when I was younger, and it was just an influence on me that I didn't even pay attention to.
Oh, definitely.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. That tracks. That makes sense.
Yeah, so and my Aunt Mona, she always went to school. My dad, he went to school too. I think that was probably my first I'm going to college, and then my Aunt Mona, continued.
Right.
And it had a big impact.
That's pretty wild because you had people in your father, your mom, your pop, that went to. I didn't have people
Who went to college.
who went to college.
Right.
That's why representation is so important. And seeing is believing. If you see someone in your family go to college, you're like, oh, okay, I could probably go to college too, or go in the military or whatever. If we see the example, and kind of going on like the college route as well. Like I know one of my mentors, so to speak, kind of unofficially, is my professor, Professor Lori Tharps, who was she's a journalist, awesome, black girl magic, natural hair, all that. Shout out. She was definitely, she gave me like the confidence to be like, okay, you can go ahead and do magazine journalism, you can go into this route or do this, and even going back, even like further back in like elementary school, my English teacher, Mrs. Health, influence on me. She pushed me into writing further, and now I'm a journalist. So it's so important, especially at a young age, to have those positive influences in your life.
Definitely at a young age, for sure. And like, going and staying on sort of like the college route, I would say, like, I remember having a lot of teachers that were good, like I had this one professor, I'm blanking on his name right now, but he was really sort of like influential in terms of like how I set up certain things. Like if I were to shoot something, I remember like the lesson he taught me, like get this shot, get this shot, get this shot, and then you'll have everything established, and you won't have to be like, oh no, I didn't get that angle. Like
And you revert back to that every time.
Right, yeah, exactly, exactly.
But I would say like I would say even more than teachers, honestly, for me, or students, like people, either my peers or kids who were a little bit like older than me, like those are like big influences, because I would be seeing what they would do, right? Like they would be making shows, they would be writing on, like college shows and whatnot, and I always wanted to be like a part of it, like, cool, I want to see how what made you do this, right? And then I would try to like be a part of that in any sort of like way I can.
What made you get into film? Do you know?
Honest, I don't know. I mean, I would say,
You started when you were really
you started grabbing the video camera
honestly,
at age, 4.
As far as like influences and stuff like that, I would say, a big obvious one, I guess, is Will Smith. As far as like seeing him do as much stuff as he was doing, and a lot of that stuff was cool. Like a lot of movies, starring a guy that kind of looked like you is like, oh, cool, I could be involved in that sort of stuff too. I mean, that's probably a big influence. I mean, a lot of anime probably influenced me as far as like wanting to do, because film, I always saw film as sort of a way to do things that you can't normally do in real life, or to show things that you can't normally show in real life. So when you look at something like a Dragon Ball Z or a One Piece or whatever, and you see sort of like all the creative, crazy stuff that goes on in those things, and it's like, how do I produce that?
Right.
And you do that with like, whether it's animation, which I wasn't really that great of a drawer, but you could do that with film.
Right.
You know, like you could film stuff, you know, and obviously, you know, going off of that, you know, the MCU and all that stuff influences my sensibilities of what I think is like cool and what can be done and whatnot.
Right.
That's
So
interesting.
yeah,
That
I
makes
think
sense.
I think that's my whole thing with like film is that film is a way to do things that you can't normally do in real life.
Right. And one of the other things, just to, you know, just shift just a little bit, we were talking about, you know, family influence, because that I always go back to that. And also, but at my job, there were certain people. They weren't, like you said, they weren't those mentors that were assigned, but they was. And you said the same thing. You saw them from afar, and you saw how they operated. You wanted to kind of emulate that.
Yeah.
But it was nothing that was really set in stone. Like, this is my mentor.
Right, unofficial. Like, I feel like the whole
Right.
like mentorship question, people
Yeah.
are always like, do I ask them to be my
Right.
mentor?
The answer
And they
is
may
no.
not even have known it.
They might
May not even have known that they were
Right.
mentoring you, but you just
Exactly.
observe them
Yeah.
Right.
and see how they do their thing, and
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I like that.
I like that. Yeah.
And I was going to say the other thing is the entrepreneurial kind of sense. You know, our grandfather just passed away, you know, a little while ago, a couple days ago, really, a week ago, and he was an entrepreneur. And when people are in it, and like I said, you reflect after, you know, people pass, sometimes you reflect. I didn't really think of him as an entrepreneur per se.
Right.
Yeah, right?
No,
Absolutely.
Right.
As far as, like,
he
it
was.
You saw all the pictures of all the stores, you know, our grandfather
and talking
owned,
about it.
Yeah, like our
yeah.
grandfather, our great grandfather, he owned a leather workshop, right? And he had it in Long Island, he had it in the city, in Brooklyn and whatnot, Queens.
Queens and Brooklyn.
And we never really realized how much that he did as far as like pushing his business. You
It was
know,
about
people-
his money.
Yeah.
I knew that. I definitely knew that. You may not have known that. I knew that he was, but I didn't think of it as like an entrepreneurial
And he's
thing.
had it for years.
It was just what he
Decades.
did. You know what I'm saying? It was just what he did, but I didn't make that association.
That he's an
I didn't
entrepreneur.
either.
Right. I knew he did it.
Right.
And he was about his money. Like
He
you
was
said.
about
he pushed
his
it.
money.
But right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said before, his entrepreneurial spirit, you know, like you said before, when someone passes away, try and take on one of their characteristics to try and, you know, keep their memory alive. I'm going to take on his entrepreneurial spirit.
Right.
You know, being an entrepreneur myself.
I can remember him always talking about doing your own thing or doing he used to always, when he used to talk when we used to hang with him, whatever we go over there, whatever, he used to always say about opening your own and doing your own thing.
Yeah.
He used to preach that all the time, but you know, you on the track.
You on a different
You're not hearing what he's saying.
Yeah.
You know,
And it
not
comes
this
back
one, but, you know,
around.
Isn't that something?
it comes back around
Wow.
full circle. It's like, wow.
That's very
Yeah,
interesting.
going back to, you don't even know how a person is sort of like influencing you until
Exactly.
you really think about it.
Yeah.
Shoot, I mean, I was just thinking while we were talking, like my Taekwondo teacher.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even like just thinking back on that, like, you know, Master Ralph.
Master
You know,
Ralph. He was a major mentor. I would
a
say he was,
major mentor. I like thinking about it as
he
far
was
as
such
like
a good man.
great, you know, great man, great influence. It was like, you know, how to be respectful towards a person, you know, standing up straight, you know, being respectful to someone older than you.
Look
you
at
know,
someone in the eye.
maybe
and
someone
all
in
that.
the eye, you know, but don't just sit down and take whatever you're gonna take. Also stand up for yourself if you need to.
That's
you
so
know?
true. Yeah. Also, too, I gotta, say for sure that my uncles on both sides, because I got a lot of uncles.
You got a lot of uncles. You got a lot of uncles.
Yeah, on my mother's and father's side, I mean, they were major influences on me. I mean, because I got uncles in all type, they got all varieties, of, whether, and they all flavors, and all of them were mad cool.
Absolutely.
Or every single one of them were mad cool, and I really watched them, and like I said, from afar, whatever. Sometimes, lessons, taught, because, I hung out with a lot of them. And some of them just observing and seeing how they do their thing, and they were major influences.
And just showing you how to, be a person, how to be a man. And
How to be a
move,
man, and
you
how
know?
to be a man, and how to go about your business.
Yeah.
You have to be cognizant as an older person or even a younger person. Like, I get influences from you guys too. I learn things from
for sure.
you. But you have to be so aware of
Take it
how
in.
you operate, because people around you will take that in.
You don't, you never know
You
who's
never
looking
know.
at you.
That's right. That's
very
right.
Maya's doing a lot of mentorship.
I
She
know.
Yeah, with
She has a young-
a nonprofit that I work with called Bold Minds. We, help young girls.
I'm proud of her for that.
voices.
She's really
Oh, thank you.
It's good stuff. No, it's really good stuff.
shaping.
And
what
the
I'm
girls range from like age 8 to like 16, 17 years
That's
old.
dope.
And that's why when I'm around them, I'm always, making sure I'm cognizant of what I say, how I say it. I just want to make sure that I'm not rubbing off any negative habits. And I always want to make sure they learn something. So being mentored and mentorship is very important.
And I'm not going to cry, but the impact that you have on little girls like that is so powerful.
You are crying.
I know.
I mean, it's okay. It's okay. It's
Because
okay.
it's so powerful, because they're gonna remember that
Oh,
when
without
they
a doubt.
when they get older. They're gonna be like, I remember Maya. She taught us this, that, and that. She was so cool.
Right, especially you're 20-something doing, you know what I'm saying? And you remember those.
It's
Got
so
your own
powerful.
website and whatnot. You got your
Yeah.
own business.
It's
It's
really
true.
impactful.
What do they call you?
They call me Maya. They
Maya.
just say
Right.
Maya.
Remember Maya?
Remember Maya?
Yeah, she was cool. She had the afro.
Got that natural.
Yeah, yeah.